Maths Hub. So far, you have been learning so many different concepts on Maths Hub that I'm sure some of you might be getting overwhelmed. There is one particular concept that has helped me in my journey as a student, academician, and as a lifelong learner. That concept is learning how to calculate squares easily. Today, we are going to delve deeper into this. You are going to learn about your shortcut to maths mastery through learning the magic of squares. By the end of this topic, you will be able to calculate the squares from 1 to 100 and beyond. So, what are you waiting for? Let's get started. Before we get started, one very important learning that I have had as a learner, it is that time is money. At any point of time, whether you are writing your school exams or your intermediate exams or you are writing entrance exams, including the JEE, CAT, GMAT, SAT, any of them, if you are able to save time, that becomes an incredible advantage for you as a learner. Time is in fact more valuable than money in this case. The question then remains, how do you save time? The way is to learn these fundamentals that we are going to discuss today very well before you get started with anything deeper into the topics. Time saved, remember, is time gained, and it can be the difference between your cutoff clearance for that Ivy League admit versus missing that Ivy League admit. So, if you are able to learn what I am going to discuss in the next 10 to 15 minutes well and are able to apply those concepts in your real life, it will serve as a tremendous advantage for your entrance exam preparation. Let's get started. First, what is a square? A square is a number multiplied by itself. My visual understanding of a square is a square like this, right? 4 by 4 grid, simple, 16 numbers, 16 squares over there, 4 into 4, 16. This visual metaphor is incredibly useful while understanding and calculating squares. This visual metaphor is going to be the foundation of us calculating 1 to 100 squares in a jiffy. We write the squares in this notation. 4 square. Can you see this? This is the way we write 4 square. 4 square. Clear? This is in superscript. Wonderful. So now, let's get started with the basics of calculating squares. As we unlock secrets to calculating squares, the first and the most important armory with you all is to memorize these squares from 1 to 10. Probably most of you would be knowing this well, but these are squares that are literally foundational for calculating the rest of the squares. So I recommend you memorizing them. These are not too hard. I'm sure a lot of you must be learning tables and all of that very well already in your childhood. If not, then please memorize these. 1 square is equal to 1, 2 square is equal to 4, 3 square is equal to 9, 4 square is equal to 16, 5 square is equal to 25, 6 square is equal to 36, 7 square is equal to 49, 8 square is equal to 64, 9 square is equal to 81, and 10 square is equal to 100. Cool. Now that you have known this well, let's move ahead and create a shortcut for any square for a number ending with 5. Yes, if there is any number ending with 5, whether it is 25, 35, 45, 105, 365, whatever that number is, we should be able to square it in a flash. Yeah. So what are the steps for this? Look at the digit before the 5. So for example, in case of 25, focus on the 2. Can you see this 2? Yes, I want you to focus on it. Multiply that digit with the next number, which is 2 3s are 6. Okay? 2 3s are 6. And then tack on a 25 at the end. So the answer becomes 6 and 25, which is 625. 6 and 25, which becomes 625. Now, let us calculate the square of 65. Again, focus on the 6. Which is the next number to 6? The answer is 7. Now, you will calculate 6 7s are, which is 42, and then say that it is the answer of this is going to be 4, 2, 2, 5. How did I do that? I calculated 6 7s are 42 and then tack on a 25 at the end. Simple, right? Yes, it is. Now similarly, I want you to take a break, take a pause on this video and calculate the square for 95. Well, if you haven't done that already, again let's focus on the number 9. 9 tens are is equal to 90 and then let's tack on another 25 at the end. So the answer is going to be 9025. Wow, isn't this fascinating? Well, this tactic can be used for calculating any square for a number ending with 5. Great. Now that you have understood this, let's go ahead and get into numbers greater than 10. Now, the next 5 squares, which is squares of numbers from 11 to 15, are super critical in your journey to calculate squares from 1 to 100. You know why? Because they are something that I call as pattern detectives. Curious to know why? Let me tell you why. First, let us observe the square of 11. Square of 11 is basically a square of a number that is ending with 1. Now since 1 square is equal to 1, for all numbers which are in the pattern of 11, the squares will necessarily end in 1. For example, 21 square will end in 1. 31 square will end in 1 and so on and so forth. Similarly, for a number ending with 9, 9 square is also 81. So, for 19 square also, the number will end in 1. There is symmetry there. And that's why now 11 square 121 becomes a very important pattern detective. Similarly, for 12 square, since 2 square is equal to 4, all squares ending with 2 and 8 will have square numbers ending with 4. 12 square is equal to 144. Similarly, you can calculate 18 square, which is 324, which is also ending with 4. You understood why? Because 2 square is equal to 4 and 8 square is equal to 64. So it's a pattern detective again. Next, let's look at 13. 13 is also a very important pattern detective. 13 square is equal to 169 and 169 is a number ending with 9. Again, super fascinating because 13 and 17 will have both squares ending with 9 and that pattern gets followed across the board for all the rest of the squares. Next is 14 and 16. Both have squares ending with 6. 14 square is 196, 16 square is 256. Again, numbers ending with 6. Cool, right? This pattern continues for eternity. 14965 69410 is the pattern when you are calculating squares for 11 to 100 and beyond. For numbers ending with 1, square will end with 1. Number ending with 2, square will end with 4. Numbers ending with 3, square will end with 9. Numbers ending with 4, square will end with 6. Numbers ending with 5, obviously square will end with 5. And that pattern repeats in the reverse manner. Numbers ending with 6, the square will end with 6. Numbers ending with 7, the square will end with 9. Numbers ending with 8, square will end with 4. And numbers ending with 9, the square will end with 1. You understood? First we went down, then we went up as we went from 6 to 9. It's a fascinating pattern detection over here. And this pattern is crucial for all of you to learn squares calculation in a jiffy. Cool. Now that you understand this, now I'll come to what are the formulae to remember when it comes to calculating squares. These are my 4 formulae that I always calculate. Within this also, I would encourage you to calculate most of the squares only using these 2 formulae. A plus b the whole square is equal to a square plus b square plus 2ab is what my favorite calculating formula is for any square. For example, you are calculating 73 square. Then you will calculate it as 70 plus 3 the whole square. Simple enough to calculate, easy enough to understand, and very, very quick mental maths is required for calculating this. Similarly, for numbers that are close to 10 but not 10, for example, a number like 48, you would calculate it as 50 minus 2 the whole square. Again, 50 square is going to be 2500. So it becomes simple. So a minus b the whole square is equal to a square plus b square minus 2ab. I only use these formulae for calculating squares. Any formula from quick maths, Vedic maths, fast mathematics, whatever it is essentially applying this concept of a plus b the whole square or a minus b the whole square in a quick format. And hence, if you are learning from the fundamentals, then this is the fundamental formula for calculating squares. Cool. Now, let's apply this concept. What I want you to do is, I want you to now look at how do we calculate the squares of a number which is close to a multiple of 10. Let's calculate the square of number 19. So now first question, what is 19? Well, 19 is 20 minus 1, right? Perfect. Now, 19 square is going to be 20 minus 1 the whole square. Now let us apply the formula a minus b the whole square is equal to a square plus b square minus 2ab. This way, we calculate this number as 400 plus 1 minus 2 into 20 into 1, which is 40. Correct? So this becomes 361. Is it simple enough? Yes, it is simple. Why? Because you have broken the number in a very, very simple manner, easy to understand manner. And this is very, very scalable. The trick to be remembered over here is for a number which is multiple of 10, you only need to know the 1 to 10 square and then just add a relevant 0. For example, you know that 2 square is equal to 4. Then 20 square is equal to 400. You add 2 zeros. If you know that 7 square is equal to 49, then 70 square is going to be 49 and 2 zeros, which is 4900. Clear? Let's go ahead. And now I want you to take the next challenge and calculate 22 square. How will you go about doing it? Well, 22 square is going to be 20 plus 2 the whole square. Correct? So step number 1, 20 square is what? 20 square is 400. Cool. Step number 2, 2 into 20 into 2 is equal to 2ab, which is 80. And then 2 square is equal to 4. So the total of all this, because it is plus 2ab, is going to be 400 plus 80 plus 4 is equal to 484. Super simple, right? Yes. And this is the formula that we are going to use to calculate squares. And I don't want you to memorize these squares. These squares should come within 3 to 4 seconds through practice. However, for doing that, you should practice enough number of square calculations easily. Next, let us take a quick fire challenge. I'm going to give you 3 problems: 17 square, 35 square, and 49 square. Pause this video and calculate these squares yourself. Let's go ahead and see how do you calculate 17 square. Well, 17 square, step number 1 is going to be you calculate it as 10 plus 7 the whole square. Now 10 square is equal to 100. Step number 2 is 2ab, which is 2 into 10 into 7, which is 140. And step number 3 is 7 square, which is 49. If you calculate these 3 things together, you will get 100 plus 140 plus 49 is 289. Slightly tougher, but over a period of time, you will get a hang of this so easily that it will become second nature. You can also calculate this as 20 minus 3 the whole square also. In that case, you will do 400 minus 120 plus 9, which is 280 plus 9, again 289. I hope you are getting the hang of it. Now, the next question is 35 square. 35 square is something that you should be able to calculate in your sleep as well now. Just kidding. You should be able to calculate this within half a second. 3 4s are is 12. 12 and add a 25 to it. 1, 2, 2, 5. Simple, easy, straightforward. Now, the next one is 49 square. 49 square, how will you calculate? It is going to be super simple now. 50 minus 1 the whole square. So step number 1 will be to calculate 50 square, which is 2500. How? 5 square is equal to 25. So 50 square is equal to 25 plus 2 zeros, 2500. Okay. Now step number 2 is calculating the minus 2ab, which is 2 into 50 into 1, which is equal to 100. Remember that this is a minus. Then step number 3 is 1 square, which is equal to 1. So the answer is going to be 2500 minus 100 plus 1, which is 2401. Now, the next step is going to be the most important crucial step, which is to create a table like this. I want you all to create a table like this and go ahead and calculate these numbers on your own, wherein 1 to 20, then 21 to 40, then 41 to 60, 61 to 80, and 81 to 100. These are all squares that should be calculable now by using these simple formulae. No big fast maths is required, no quick maths is required, just simple application of fundamentals is enough to calculate all squares. What I would do as a shortcut though is first fill up all these numbers. 5, numbers ending with 5, numbers ending with 0, numbers ending with 5 again, and then again numbers ending with 0. Then I will calculate 1 and 9. Then I will calculate 2 and 8, and so on and so forth. Simple enough, easy enough to calculate. Yeah? What I want you to do is, right now, right here, take a pen and paper and draw this kind of a grid and calculate these squares without using a calculator. That is the best way to learn calculation of squares. Squares are applied in math, in physics, in chemistry, in multiple different places. Squares are applied even in regular arithmetic, in many applications, including for calculating revenue, for calculating profits, for calculating losses, all of that. I want you to learn squares so easily that you should be able to second guess if there is a mistake in your calculation as you become a business owner or a super executive in future. So, are you ready for doing this? Well, if you have created this 1 to 100 grid right now with me, then I must congratulate you. Congratulations are in order. You have now unlocked the power of squares. Congratulations and well done. For the next time, I shall be back with many more such tricks which are based on simple fundamentals which will help you calculate and become better at math, which is a foundational skill for everything academics. See you soon.